Hi everyone, just wanted to give you a quick explanation of assignments 6 and 7. They're both due by Sunday at 11:59. So for assignment 6, I'm asking that you do 3 observations. And you are going to do 3 different observations. You can observe the same child. This could be a child in a school that the parents have given consent. It could be a child that you know. It could be a family member. It could be your own child. It could be any child as long as you gain consent from the caregivers or the parents. I wouldn't recommend going to a park and kind of creepily watching a child because that's just kind of creepy. Make sure that you get consent for doing this observation. So you're going to do 3 different observations. And I'm asking that you observe for 3 different developmental domains and use 3 different types or 3 different approaches to observation, and let me explain what those are. So the developmental domains are going to be cognition, language, motor development, emotional development, behavior. You can look for any of these, but I need 3 different developmental domains. So don't do the same, don't do behavior, 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 because that's not satisfying the requirement. You can do cognition, language, and behavior, or emotional development, cognition, and gross motor development, but don't do the same. Then I'm asking that you use a different approach to observation. So you might want to do time sampling, where you are observing a child for 2 minutes and you want to see how often they get out of their seat. So you're going to be marking every time they get out of their seat and what time it is. Or perhaps you're doing event sampling, where you're looking for a certain event and how often it happens. You're going to find all of the descriptions of all of these different approaches to observation within your book, in this chapter. So what I'm going to ask for you to do is you're going to use the observation form that is on page 133, and I'm showing it to you right now. You can copy this form, you can scan it, you can recreate it, but make sure that it has all of these bits of information because this is what I'm looking for. Okay, so name, do not give the student's name because we need to stay confidential. Date, time, location, child observed, the age, yes, I need this. Type of development observed. This is where you're going to put language development, cognition, behavior. Type of observation used. This is where you're going to put event sampling, anecdotal observation. So then you're going to give the purposes of the observation. You can just give me 1 purpose. You don't need to give me 3, but make sure that you do give me a purpose. Why are you looking at this? Do you want to see how often the child is on task? So that's why you're looking at how often they get out of their seat in instructional class time. Then, questions answered. So you're looking at a certain purpose and you want to answer the questions. How often is this student on task? Okay, that's a question. You can give me 1 or 2 questions. You don't need to give me 3. Description of observation. This is where you're going to talk about what type of observation you're using. So you've already identified it, but then you're going to describe it. Anecdotal observation is when I describe what's happening in a narrative kind of format, and that is how you're going to describe it. Then, also in the description, you are going to give me the actual observation. So say you wanted to do an anecdotal, you're going to describe what an anecdotal is, and then you're going to give me the actual anecdotal narrative below it. That is going to be just direct observation. What do you see? Try not to put your judgment or your subjectivity into it. You're supposed to be as objective as possible, and just tell me what you're watching. Then, at the end, summary of important behaviors recorded and comments. This is where you can actually bring your own judgment into it. So I saw that the child got out of their seat 47 times in 10 minutes, and I can safely say that most of their instructional time for math is spent off task, and I have the data to back it up. So as long as you complete all of these sections and you do 3 different types of observations and you're observing for 3 different developmental domains, you will be successful in this assignment. So make sure that you can find a child that you can observe. You can probably do this in an hour, the observations, and do your observations, and then come back or go home and do your whole interpretation of the observation. So that is going to be due by Sunday, and you're going to submit it via Dropbox. The second assignment, which is assignment 7, I'm asking that you develop a rubric for 4-year-olds and emergent reading. All right, so this rubric you're going to develop from the Florida Early Learning and Developmental Standards for 4-year-olds. I included a link in your course content. So you're going to go to page 98, which is where emergent reading starts. You're going to look for the benchmarks. Okay, so make sure that you're looking at benchmarks, and I'll give you a couple examples of benchmarks. So first example, benchmark A. Child enjoys reading and reading-related activities. So that would be one of your objectives. Benchmark B. Child interacts appropriately with books and other materials in a print-rich environment. So that could be another one of your objectives. Benchmark C. Child asks to be read to or asks the meaning of text. So you see where I'm going with this. You're going to use that document. You are going to choose 5 different benchmarks, and then you're going to create your own rubric. So I know that everybody knows what a rubric is. I've been creating them for you. It's how you break down the development of skills. So in this case, you're going to have your benchmark right here, and then you're going to have 3 different levels of where a child is working up their complexity to master this task. So say the task was child must write their first name and last name independently without a model. That's not going to be one of your objectives because that's not emergent reading, but I'm just going to give you an example. So that's the benchmark. That's what my objective is. And then we have these different levels. So I'm using the term beginning, developing, and proficient, and then they get to mastery. You don't need to use these terms. You can use like Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, or A, B, C, whatever you feel comfortable with using. But so beginning would be child writes their first name using a model independently. Okay, so then developing could be child writes their first name without a model independently. And then proficient could be child writes their first and last name with a model independently. So then you know that the next step would be mastery of the entire thing. So this is going to be when I'm asking you 5 different benchmarks for emergent reading. I told you where to find them. Make sure that you're using benchmarks for 4-year-olds for emergent reading. And then you're going to divide the task into 3 increasing complexity stages. So beginning, developing, proficient. This is also due by Sunday, and you're going to submit this via Dropbox. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, because I know that these are more involved and they're very into the content of assessment, and they can get a little bit tricky. So please do contact me if you have any questions or concerns.